Hey, YouTube, what's up? Live from New York, we've got Filthy Casual. We're talking about game three of the NBA Finals, or sorry, rather, game four of the NBA Finals. I know I haven't been posting videos. I've been recording videos, but I haven't had really time to edit, so uh, I really don't have time to edit this either, but I'm just gonna post this. So, one take Willie, one take Wizard, waving it around. Game four was kind of insane. Um, insane in this sense. The Heat I felt were out efforting the Nuggets at pretty much like 85 to 90% of the game, and it never felt like it was enough. Like it was like, "Oh, wow, the Heat just went on like an 11-0 run. What's the score? Oh, they're down by 7. How did that happen?" And it just kind of felt like that the entire game. And that's got to be concerning, other than the fact that you're down 3-1, because at least sometimes when you're down 3-1, you're like, oh, well, we weren't giving our effort. There's been inconsistent defensive plays. Shots haven't been falling, etc., etc. This time, um, it really feels like the Heat, at least to me, the Heat don't really have a card to play. And a little bit of that is on Jimmy Butler's injury, not on Jimmy Butler, on his injury. He clearly isn't as aggressive scoring. He's clearly not as aggressive going to the cup. His shots are short. He's clearly hampered by the ankle. Would that have changed the series? I don't want to say it would have, but it definitely could have. And like, yeah, if Jimmy Butler is having, instead of 23 points, 32 points, which we haven't seen since that first round, those big 40 point, those gaudy scoring numbers that he was putting up. We all know that Jimmy Butler in the playoffs is more than capable of putting up those types of games and those types of series. And it's disappointing for another title to be marred by injury. But that being said, I do think that the Nuggets were the better team and are still the better team over top to bottom. I think they have a plethora of mismatches. So I'm going to just go down the Nuggets roster and talk about some things that I've seen. I'm going to go down to both of the rosters a little bit and just talk about like some of the things that I've seen. Aaron Gordon playing exactly like what you'd imagine Aaron Gordon would have been like on the Nuggets when they first traded for him. Um, I mean, he been doing this. He's been doing this, but maybe not quite as successfully as against this current Heat roster, which is smaller than him. He really has free reign to do pretty much whatever he wants, and it certainly feels like he's doing that. He's doing anything he wants to, and that is to the Nuggets' benefit. Jamal Murray, I feel like is an underrated he's an underrated guard for a couple of reasons, right? In the modern league, we often think about, oh well, perimeter scoring and efficiency and driving and getting to the cup, and I think Jamal Murray has arguably the best mix of skills for a young guard in the league, because he has the physical strength and tools to back down pretty much like most guards, realistically. Like, unless he's playing against like Luca or one of the really big guards, um like super strong, like Alex Caruso, Drew Holiday, he could back him down. But wait, hold up, he can also back down those guys too. He's kind of crazy. And because of that ability to back down, people are a little bit less keen to physically engage with him. And because of his quick burst and speed, which he's retained through his injuries, good for him, Jamal Murray has become a complete mismatch in the two-man game, to the point where people are sagging off of a two-time MVP who is shooting like 70% from the field to guard his ass. So that's a testament to his skill level. And it's been ridiculous. And because of the combination of the two-man game between him and, of course, Jokic, who I could have very clearly started with, and I feel like I don't often talk about Jokic because, you know, as early as 5 6 years ago, when Jokic was first starting to break out, and it was like Jalen and Jacoby who were like all the time talking about Jokic on their show. Um, Jokic has just been good. He's been consistently solid, and he is one of the more talented offensive players because of his ability to affect the game and not just one or two or three ways, right? And I'll explain what I mean by that in a little bit more depth because people kind of just say that and then they're like, "Oh yeah, he gets points, he gets assists, he gets rebound." What do I mean specifically by that? I mean that Jokic, because of the fact that he can create additional possession, he can manufacture rim looks and space the floor, pretty much gives him almost Steph Curry esque floor warping ability. Almost. Not quite. It's not quite there. It's not quite Steph Curry. Um, but just because you can't warp the floor like Steph Curry doesn't mean that you can't be, 8 inches taller than him. Like, I mean, that certainly doesn't help hurt. Um, but yeah, Jokic, because of all of those different things that he can do, it's the same way how when Steph has a bad game, it's like, oh well, he's doing so much for his team anyways, it doesn't matter. And Jokic is very much in the same kind of vein. Um, I think the thing that has amplified that ability on this specific roster is the amount of shooters and defenders they have. They've got KCP, they've got Bruce Brown, Michael Porter Jr., while not having his best series, is a shooter. He can shoot. They got guys who can come in and give them minutes and really produce. Really, really produce for them. Jeff Green, veteran, can knock down the ball. Um, and Aaron Gordon has been hitting his 3 pointers in this final series. And all that to say is that it's contagious, right? When everybody can kind of shoot or hit shots and you're getting open rim looks, and because of you've got the size advantage, um, Jokic is going to amplify that uh, advantage significantly for your team. And that makes it really, really hard to win purely based off effort alone. Now, the one thing that the Heat might still have is Tyler Hero. But Tyler Hero hasn't played basketball in a while. Is he really going to be able to do much? I don't really think it's. I mean, it really is their scoring, but if you put him in, like, the defense falls apart, and trying to compete with this Denver offense on your side of the court is just it's a nightmare, and it is one of the most efficient offenses we've seen. It's one of the most difficult two-man games to guard, and we're seeing that because Bam Adebayo has been amazing, amazing defensively, but it's just not been enough. He's kind of like, I mean Jimmy's been great defensively too, not quite as good, but those are the two that are being put into the pick and roll most often. It's those two, and then the other people that Jamal Murray has really been trying to pick on Caleb Martin and Max Strus. Not Gabriel Vincent quite as much, but Caleb Martin and Max Strus. And he's been getting what he wants. He just backs them down, right? Like there's nothing. Same with Gabriel Vincent. He just backs them down. But in the two-man pick and roll, like those are the two that are getting thrown into it the most often because Jimmy's been on Jamal. And it hasn't really seemed to matter. Like even if you look at his stats from the previous series, he was 50, 40, 90, 30 points. He was like 30, 10, and 5. And in this series, it's pretty much the exact same stats, except instead of 40% for three, it's 38.7%, which is like, oh, the great fall off. But not really. I did say going into the series, the Nuggets were going to win. I think the Nuggets were the best team uh, pretty much all year. I personally felt like the Warriors had a good matchup against them in the sense of personnel, but that might have been a little bit of copium at the time. And I did feel unease about that pick initially due to the fact that the Warriors looked like a total mess. And I was like, well, let's give it some time. Let's pick a team. Let's figure this out. And I did maybe have some bias in my picking them to beat the Nuggets, but Nuggets are here, baby. And as cool as it is to have the Nuggets win, as cool as it is to have Jokic get his title, as cool as it is to have Jamal Murray complete his comeback, for Aaron Gordon to show he is a extremely good player, to be like a starter, like one of the three best players on a championship roster. All that to be said, I'm still going to be really sad that Jimmy Butler is not going to win a ring. I'm still going to be really sad that Kyle Lowry and Kevin Love aren't going to get number two, or that Victor Oladipo is going to get a ring. I'm going to be bummed that Bam Adebayo, who I had a lot of questions about personally going into this year's season, about him as a number two option on a significantly good team, or a team that could have title hopes. He's really proved me wrong in a lot of different ways. Where Bam, I always felt like his mid range is inconsistent, and too inconsistent for him to be like the secondary offensive weapon in your offense. But I don't really feel that way anymore. I feel like he's more than played well, and I don't know how much of that is, Jokic playing him straight up, right? Right? Like when he's doing those mid range jumpers, Jokic isn't jumping; he's putting a hand up. Um, and he's contesting, but for the most part, Bam's not getting a shot blocked. Sometimes he's gotten hit from behind, like Jokic has been playing great defense. Don't get me wrong, um, but Bam's played well in every way that he could, and I think if Jimmy Butler was healthy, this game and the series would have been much closer. That being said, leave a like, comment, subscribe. We're trying to grow the channel, and I'll see you next time at the end of the finals when I start talking about the off season. All right, peace.